Hello, and welcome to this tutorial on budgeting your time in a blended learning course. Your goal is to provide students one well-designed and functioning learning experience. It's not to teach a class and a half. One challenge to designing a quality blended course involves shifting our focus from covering all the content to covering only the content that we need to invest time and energy covering. We all know that telling isn't teaching, and yet sometimes we feel that if we don't say it, the students won't know it. Moving away from this misguided notion means looking more closely at the types of information we expect students to use and communicating our expectations clearly. As you plan, consider how you schedule course sessions and work with content in order to make the best use of both your and your students' time. Plan your face-to-face time very carefully in order to maximize student learning through time on task and application activities. Technology and the overabundance of information at our fingertips allows us, and perhaps forces us, to think about content in a different way. As a general rule of thumb, if you can find it with a Google search, so can your students. Just be clear what it is that you want them to know. For example, there's no need to give students a list of terms and definitions. Give them the list and tell them they need to know what these terms mean. Include an activity where they can use these terms either in writing or with other class members, which will give them an opportunity to correct any misinformation. If you've searched around online and have been unable to find what you're looking for, chances are your students won't be able to find it either. In that case, find what you want them to use, say an ebook, a particular set of guidelines, a specific video, whether made by you or someone else, and provide students links or other forms of access to those materials. Be specific that those are the resources you expect them to use to complete the assigned activities. You may follow up by asking students to use Cornell Notes or to annotate their readings in order to be sure they are engaging with the material. Finally, what you should be left with is the content that only you as the expert can provide. Design mini-lectures to highlight the most salient points and to frame the learning activities you've selected to teach students the material. Your mini-lecture should contain only the most important nuanced aspects of your content. Perhaps you can illustrate a relationship through a story or help students connect to seemingly disparate ideas. Other chunks of class time should then be used to give students opportunities to practice what they're learning, to solve problems, discuss ideas, practice tasks, and gather feedback from you as well as from one another. Let's look at some specifics. As you plan, consider why and how often you need classes to meet face-to-face. Ask yourself if students can meet your objectives through online activities. Consider limiting the number of times you meet face-to-face in order to cut down on unnecessary meetings and boredom. Give students greater autonomy in choosing when and where they will complete some assignments. Determine what percentage of time you expect yourself and your students to engage in the following, and plan accordingly. When you're finished creating or redesigning your course, it will look something like this. Keep in mind, some delivery modes work better for some activities. Online learning is an efficient way to move basic tasks such as rote memorization and multiple choice checks for understanding out of the classroom so that time can be used in more engaging ways. In-class lectures should do more than repeat the textbook or video tutorials. They should go well beyond what students can gain on their own. To get the most out of in-class activities, they should feature some element of application and peer interaction. Regardless of where activities occur, all of the parts of your blended course still need to work together as a cohesive whole. You will need to consider how you will transition students from the online components to the face-to-face components and back again. Otherwise, you risk students seeing the two parts of your course as two separate entities without connection. When planning a blended course, it's important not to lose sight of the forest for the trees. And don't forget, Whether online or face-to-face, good instruction must always meet the 4 M's of learning. In order for learning to stick, it must be meaningful, memorable, motivational, and measurable. Thanks for your attention, and as always, drop me a line if you need me.